only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach, Mace, RK at the bar. Three for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Not supposed to wait for, well, bring on the chase. Out on the field at Mile High, Broncos win is our desire. Coupled with Breck, Brew and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR, and we are coming to you from what I like to call Studio C. And the C today stands for, could Drew Lock earn another chance? Excited to talk about this with you guys, and I know that we're going to have just a very civil, calm conversation in the chat. Nobody calling anybody names and nobody losing their cool. So excited for that. I know that Drew Lock conversations never bring out the worst in anybody. So keep it civil, chat. Let's have this discussion and we can be honest and we can be realistic here. So.
Oh my! You have much more faith than I do, RK. You have much more faith in humanity than I do.
I've got a lot of faith in the chat. We're gonna have a banner day in the chat. I can just feel it.
That's a way of putting it.
It's Christmas time. Everyone's gonna be very giving, very nice.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so
aren't suicides the highest at Christmas though? People are often miserable.
Jesus, dude. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Let's have this conversation here. And it really comes down to this. In a world in which Drew Lock starts the next 3 games, which I think all 3 of us think is the best thing, not only just because the season is essentially over and you've got a chance to get a look at Drew Lock, maybe increase his trade value, but mostly because as we said yesterday, like it's just we don't want to see Teddy Bridgewater go out there and potentially have another head injury, especially in what are likely going to be meaningless games. Now, again, the Broncos do still have a chance at the playoffs. They would have to win out and get some help. So maybe, like we talked about yesterday, there's a chance that, week 18, Teddy comes back, that sort of thing. You could have that conversation when you cross that path. But anyways, in a world in which Drew Lock starts all 3 of the next 3 games, is there anything at all he could do to make the Broncos, and it doesn't necessarily have to be you, but you could say how you would feel too, to make the Broncos think, all right, worst case scenario, we don't get one of those big name free agents in the offseason. Is there anything he could do to make the Broncos think we could maybe give Drew Lock another chance?
Well, Ryan, that's where it starts. And first and foremost, there is nothing that Drew Lock can do to make it so the Broncos turn their back on Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. There is nothing. And we're going to be throwing out some crazy numbers where people may say, are you sure they shouldn't just stick with Drew since he's younger? No, absolutely nothing. But we got to look at how they can just consider him, because then we know this isn't a great draft pool for quarterbacks right now. So the Broncos may say, well, do we roll with Drew? And guys, it has to be pretty darn incredible. I think they need to make the playoffs, so that means going 3-0. And guys, that would mean that he beats Derek Carr on the road. He beats Justin Herbert on the road, and then potentially beats Patrick Mahomes at home. Now, that could also mean he's beating, the backups of the Chiefs as well. That'd be a pretty impressive run right there. But then I think he needs to win a playoff game. And even then, guys, that's what Tim Tebow did. He carried the Broncos to the playoffs. He won a playoff game, and he still got booted. So I don't think that would even be enough. I'm thinking multiple playoff wins for Drew Lock. And also, when we talk about statistics, guys, we've seen Drew Lock twice now finished the season strong. His rookie year, he did 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Then last year, I believe it was 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So I'm not getting fooled by that. And that's what Adam Valentine in the comment section said, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. No, I've already been fooled by that. I mean, we're talking that this takes the playoffs, wins a playoff games, and it's because of Drew Lock. Now, the defense can also be good, but it can't be these 17, 16 wins. We're talking 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, because not only was I fooled after the 2019 season, and then the Broncos were fooled after the 2020 season last year, but on top of that, guys, we've already seen him struggle this year. We've seen him lose a quarterback competition, then we've seen him when we've seen him, which has not been the most fair circumstances, but we have seen him this year. He has looked bad, so he needs to be not just good, but he has to make me forget about all of that. So the bar for me, guys, incredibly high.
And I think it has to be. This is a situation where we essentially said, like, if he doesn't win the starting quarterback competition, it's pretty much over for him in Denver. So for us and the Broncos to go back on that, it would have to be a monumental comeback for Drew Lock. And again, this is just a fun conversation. At least I think it's a fun conversation to have in this situation, because we are going to see Drew Lock again, and so you can live in a world where maybe some magic happens. I think that we all know that Drew Lock has skills and abilities that could still work in the NFL. It's not as if you're trying to take, some guy who's super ungifted and turn him into a starting quarterback. So for me, if he was to come in, I'm not putting the bar as high as like 0 interceptions. I don't think that's necessarily fair. But you definitely got to go 3-0 and make the playoffs. That is one of those things where if this happens, it makes everyone stop and think for a second, right? If you go 2-1 and you miss the playoffs, well, it was nice. The season's over. There's only 3 games there. If you were to somehow get this team over the hump, make the playoffs, and then, like you said, Zach, win a playoff game with really impressive numbers, because, the defense could go out there and give up 10 points a game. The Broncos could score 13, and, we're not going to be giving that much credit to Drew Lock, although the Broncos have lost a couple games like that recently. So it's, 300 yards a game-ish, 3 touchdowns a game-ish, averaging definitely less than 1 interception a game. So, maybe you end with like 9-1 or 9-2 with big numbers, offense scoring upwards of 30 points, 3-0, playoff berth, and then maybe even you have to get a playoff win on top of that to just fully, make everyone think. And even then, I'm with you, Zach. If Rodgers or Wilson can still be had, they'll go for it. But if not, they say, well, we still got Drew Lock on this cost-controlled contract for one more year. We might as well give it a chance and roll the dice here. I think it's a possibility, but again, that is a huge bar to clear.
Yeah, I think, and the thing that I keep coming back to is he's the starting point for even considering this is he's got to cut the turnovers. And like you go through, he's played 21 games, right? He's had 18 of them starts, then the 3 this season. He's turned the ball over at least once in 19 of those 21 games.
Yeah.
And
Yikes.
For me, the conversation has to start with having at least 2 of these games be turnover-free ball. And then that is the beginning point, and that is saying he's managing the game, he's playing within himself. And look, I mean, if we're talking about the Broncos going 3-0 in these, I don't think Drew Lock is going to be throwing for 300 yards a game if the Broncos go 3-0. In fact, remember when he played for Rich Gangarello in 2019, those 5 games. Well, the Broncos won 4, of course. And in 3 of those 4 wins, he didn't even reach 200 yards passing.
Yeah.
So this is about the team being successful. But I really think unless Lock plays turnover-free ball in at least 2 of these 3 games, even if the team wins, then I think the conversation is kind of moot without him changing the thing that is undermining him, which is the back-breaking mistake time after time. I mean, and look, that's just a starting point. I mean, I know people aren't enamored with Teddy Bridgewater, but Bridgewater turned the ball over only 8 times in basically 13 full games of play over the course of the season. And Drew Lock has turned the ball over 3 times in this season in barely 1 game of full play for him. And we know about the turnover problems prior to that. So that's where any conversation has to begin, I think, is he's got to stop turning the ball over.
Yeah, I've been calling it Mark Sanchez syndrome.
And you thought I was bad with what I said at the start of this thing.
I think yours is worse, Mason.
Way worse. Mark Sanchez syndrome. It's just, no matter how badly you don't want to turn the ball over, somehow you still turn it over. You can try as much as you want. But yeah, it would just have to be, the problem is even if all this happened, it would still feel like a lightning in a bottle scenario. But I will say it would give you an opportunity to think twice about whether you need to reach in the draft, which I think is a good thing for the Broncos. It would give you an opportunity to think twice about whether you need to go after a Matt Ryan or a Kirk Cousins type of player. It at least gives you this fallback plan of like, okay, well, if plan A doesn't work out, we do still have this other option that was exciting. The fans really do like him. I mean, we put out the poll the other day of should Drew Lock, start the last 3 games or whatever. What was do you know what the final? When I looked, it was like 75% still said yes.
Yep.
There's still a soft spot in the hearts of a lot of Broncos country for Drew Lock. So, and you would definitely win a bunch more people over if you go 3-0 and make the playoffs. So it's just this extra option that becomes available that honestly for me, without Rodgers or Wilson, I'm really worried about the Broncos making the wrong call this offseason and jumping for a quarterback who ends up being a bust. And that's honestly, as frustrating as it was to see the Broncos pass on quarterback this year, it's way, way, way worse when your team goes after a guy who isn't it. I mean, the Paxton Lynch saga, and that's as bad as it gets. Like, in terms of first-round bust quarterbacks, he's at the very top of the list. The only thing stopping him from being the top of the list, in my opinion, is that he was drafted late in the round. But, a guy who starts that few games as a first-round quarterback just sets you back. And then, again, it's human nature. You get trigger shy. That's why the Broncos, in my opinion, don't have Josh Allen right now. Because John Elway got a little trigger shy after making that mistake. So, I'm just saying, I'm afraid of the Broncos getting the wrong guy this offseason. This scenario would open up one more year, and even if it doesn't work out, maybe put you in a better situation in the long run.
Guys, I think realistically, the best case scenario here for Drew Lock these last 3 games is playing really well and then opening up the trade market for him. And Malcolm Brown in the comment section says, what is Lock's trade value? Better than a 4th? No, not right now. I mean, it is a 6th, a 7th, a conditional 7th, something like that right now. But let's say he goes out, guys, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We've seen him do that. 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions these final 3 games. If he goes out and does that, that's going to pique some interest of teams out there because, like Ryan said, Drew Lock has the arm strength. He has the size. He has the physical tools that you want. And so some team could say, you know what? I don't trust Pat Shurmur. I don't trust Rich Scangarello. I want Drew Lock in my building. I'm going to develop him maybe behind a Matt Ryan, maybe behind a Jimmy Garoppolo wherever he goes. Maybe Detroit says, you know what? We were interested in Drew last year. Let's bring him in, have him sit behind Jared Goff for a year. If he's not the guy, then we're just going to go get Bryce Young next year. And then Drew's value goes from 6th, 7th round to maybe we're talking a 4th round pick this offseason. And that, to me, is probably the best scenario for Drew and for the Broncos. Look, Drew, I mean, Ryan, there are a lot of people that like Drew. There's also a lot of people that don't like Drew. I bet Drew, honestly, deep down, would probably like a fresh start somewhere. And so that, to me, guys, is the best scenario because let's say Drew goes out, they lose this game, then they put Teddy Bridgewater in the final 2 games. you're getting nothing from Teddy in terms of a value. You're getting nothing from him, and he's really getting nothing for himself going forward. He just had the best year of his career. So the best thing for Drew and the Broncos is to Drew to come out and ball these next 3 games.
Well, the one thing is, if you let Teddy Bridgewater walk, if he did come back and play well and maybe does play his way back into the $20 million a year quarterback conversation from somebody, you can get a compensatory pick back potentially. So there is something you could get. It's not necessarily nothing. So it's so that's one thing to bear in mind here, I think, in this.
The one place that I think if this all doesn't happen and Drew ends up hitting the market this year or next year, depending on how the Broncos feel. I mean, I think there is a chance they could potentially just cut him after the season if this magical run that we're talking about doesn't happen. Where I think he could end up not as a starter.
The Raiders,
Kansas City.
No, boy.
Home sweet home.
Then you'll have to flip that article you wrote, Ryan. Right when the Broncos drafted him, you'll have to flip that.
Yeah, sadly that never came to fruition.
Yeah,
I think it's possible they would, bring it. He's going home. He's not. There's no pressure on him. He's going in there. It's probably the 3rd string to start. And then they think we can develop him a little bit and maybe have an exciting backup if they ever need him.
Well, you know what? That would actually be interesting, because if he eventually replaced the current backup, who of course is Chad Henne, he'd be a 2nd-round pick replacing a 2nd-round pick. Because Chad Henne, back in the day, the Miami Dolphins had hopes for him, and they floundered. I think I want to say they gave Henne 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, and then they consigned him to the bench, and then they moved on. But that would be something. That would be something. And it may well be the best path back for Drew Lock. Maybe going to be somebody's backup for a while, because he said something interesting on Sunday after the game when he was talking about kind of his proclivity to try to make plays when the team was behind, to kind of, almost kind of throw the team out of a jam when the offense wasn't at best. And he said, quote, "There's a lot that goes into it, but it's in my DNA to go out there and do a little bit more than I'm asked of. Maybe it's something I've got to realize when the time is there to do that," unquote. And then he said it was kind of that's the type of player he was, and he's got to figure out how to manage it. So, you know what? This is why I'm not sure it's going to be all that different in the next 3 games for Drew Lock than it has been, unless they basically take the ball out of his hands and go with an Indianapolis Colts, Carson Wentz, Jonathan Taylor game plan where you're handing the ball off all about 12 times a game.
To circle back to what we were talking about earlier, just about the potential for like gaudy numbers. I think you're right. The game plan going into the Raiders game is run the ball 40 times.
Yeah.
But things happen, things change, and then if you hit on 1 or 2 big deep balls, your numbers can inflate really quickly. It's when you just dink and dunk the whole game that you end up with like 150, 170 yards.
The best thing for this team is probably to do exactly that, to run the ball 40 times, play to the strengths here. And I don't think the concern can be about developing Drew Lock in these next, especially in these next 3 games, but especially this game. I mean, I know people want to see everything perfectly tailored for Drew. This thing has to be perfectly tailored for the team, not for Drew Lock. And the way to tailor that for the team is to run the ball. And then Drew Lock can kind of benefit from that, because the run should set up play fake boot action, which we know he can do. The question is, will Pat Shurmur actually do that?
All right, we got a quick super chat here on this topic. So here's from Edward Keating. What up, guys? So ready for Sunday to beat the Raiders. I hope Lock lights it up this weekend. I'll be wearing my Lock jersey this Sunday for luck. My score prediction is 21-17. Thanks, guys.
There we go. I love it, Edward, and that would hype up the Lock fans. It would make his value maybe a little bit better, and on top of that, it'd keep the Broncos in the playoffs. So I hope you're spot on, Edward, and we really appreciate all the support.
Yes, of course. All right, before we move on, again, a reminder to come down to the DNVR bar tonight for the Ugly Sweater Party. First Nuggets game in a while, first Nuggets or Avs game in a while tonight. And perfect time to come down to the bar and show us your best ugly sweater or your worst, depending on how you look at it. We're going to be doing a competition for the ugliest sweater. We'll also be doing giveaways all night like we always do, other fun things down at the DNVR bar. So come check us out tonight. Come hang out. Like I said yesterday, kind of like the last day to hang out with friends before, a big family weekend. So it should be fun. Come down to the bar, come hang out, and have yourself a time, and bring that ugliest sweater that you have some Breck brews, all that above. So hopefully see you tonight down at the DNVR bar.
And then after a great night, you're going to want to go home and sleep on the most comfortable bed. And our friends over at Snooze Sleep can help you with that. Guys, they have the most universal mattress out there. Their Snooze Flip mattress is a 4-in-1 mattress. One side of the mattress is hard. One side of the mattress is soft. So you get to choose if you want it hard or soft. Then it also has a reversible pad, which one side is hot, one side is cold. And you can mix and match. And that's how you get a 4-in-1 mattress. And they are built in Colorado, but they're designed for the world. And you guys know how important it is for us supporting our local Colorado businesses. Snooze Sleep is one of them. So go to snoozesleep.com and use the code DNVR, and you will get $500 off a queen setup. They're going to give you $250 off the Snooze Flip Queen, and they're going to give you $250 off the adjustable mattress underneath. And on top of that, if you want a king, they're going to give you $500 off the mattress, and they're going to give you $500 off an adjustable base, savings up to $1,000. All you have to do is go to snoozesleep.com and grab your Snooze Flip mattress today. That's snoozesleep.com, and use that code DNVR.
If you change your career and go work over at Ball, you're going to have a great job, but you're going to savor those nights when you sleep on that Snooze mattress as well, because you're going to be working hard, but also working for a great company. Of course, Ball has a huge plant that focuses on making aluminum cans, including this one right here in my hand. They've got that plant over in Golden. Zach, your Aunt Julie works for Ball, but does she work at the Golden plant?
She's, I believe, in the downtown area. They're all over Denver.
Yeah, they're all over Denver. It's not just Ball Arena. There's offices downtown, but they're looking for people at their plant out in Golden. Would we say Golden is a beautiful town?
Oh yeah.
Yes, at the base of the Front Range, wonderful vistas. Well, you can have a wonderful job working in Golden as well if you join Ball. If you want to go check out the jobs available at their Golden plant, go to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden, or text Golden to 77222. What they're looking for are production technicians who work on the front line of the aluminum beverage can production process. Ball pays $27.39 per hour for production techs to start off, and there's a potential for a wage increase at 6, 12, and 18 months on the job. If you're a production tech, you're responsible for machine adjustments on high-speed production equipment, and you'd be an integral part of the production team, both in quality and meeting operational goals for volume. The role has skills growth built into it. Many production techs become maintainers, which is the next step up, and plenty of employees who started off as production techs have gone to other roles in operations and management. So if you're a production tech at Ball, you've got a chance for advancement. You've got a chance for raises pretty soon. You also get access to comprehensive insurance on the day you're hired, 401k for retirement, stock purchase ownership program, and even potential for an annual bonus. These are major benefits to working for a huge company like Ball, and you're going to be involved in a lot of high-tech stuff as well over at Ball. So if you want to join Ball and be like Zach's Aunt Julie and be unstoppable at Ball, or unstoppable, I should say, text Golden to 77222, and you'll be linked to open positions. You can also go directly to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. That's jobs.ball.com and search for Golden, or text Golden to 77222. Check it out, and maybe you can give yourself the gift of a new job for the new year at Ball.
Guys, our comment section is actually fantastic today. Everyone's saying hi to each other. Everyone's wishing each other well. It's fantastic. These are the vibes we're looking for.
I don't know. I'm seeing some that are...
Yeah, a couple people in there crossing the line a little bit. I would just say this. I don't understand why people care what other people root for. Like, if someone wants to be a Drew Lock fan and hope for the best for him, let him be that. If you don't like him, that's fine. You also don't need to, make personal attacks on people. But for the most part, great job by everyone. Love you all and appreciate you.
And guys, speaking of good vibes, let's jump into Whiteboard Wednesday to see how the Broncos get a win and keep their playoff hopes alive. And guys, this first one, dominate Derek Dallas. What the heck does that mean? Do you guys know what Derek Carr's middle name is?
Well,
Is it Dallas?
Dallas.
It's Dallas. I mean, is that just the most classic Derek Carr middle name? I mean, if you were to tell me what's Derek Carr's middle name, I'd probably guess Dallas. It just fits him so well, and it also fits this whiteboard. Dominate Derek Dallas, guys.
Do you feel like Carr. Real quick, do you feel like you have like a skill for being able to guess people's middle names?
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, I said this leaving the office yesterday. One of my worst traits as a human being is names. I'm so bad remembering people's names. So I can't remember when someone tells me their name, let alone guessing their middle name. So no, doesn't he just look like a Dallas guy though?
Well, he had a big game in Dallas earlier this season, or Arlington, I should say. I mean, really, the best game by far that the Raiders and their offense have played since the Henry Ruggs incident and cutting him after that was against Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. Every other time, Derek Carr and this offense have been in the teens, including on Monday night against Cleveland. That was the explosion. So now it all makes sense. Of course, he was going to have a big game against the Cowboys.
I would say if I was going to guess his middle name, I would have guessed Sid. Like the kid from Toy Story.
Okay. Do you know what his brother David's middle name is? David Carr, who was #1 overall pick of the Texans back in 2002.
Houston.
That's what I was going to go with.
No, it begins with D, but it's not Sid. It's David Duke Carr.
Duke.
Oh,
okay.
Which, unfortunately, David Duke together in a name is something that is rather terrible to have together as a name.
You must know something I don't. That probably isn't worth getting into right now.
David Duke is a former political candidate in Louisiana who was a white supremacist.
Oh, geez.
Oh,
okay.
So that's like
yep.
you see that on his name and on poor David Carr's name. You're like, ugh.
Yep.
Oh
like
boy.
I said, probably not worth getting into right now.
Well, guys, this is so important to dominate Derek Carr, and the reason for that is in 6 of the Raiders' 7 wins, he has 300 or more passing yards. You know how many 300-yard passing yard games he has in their losses? And there's 7 losses.
0.
0, exactly, 0. So when Derek Carr balls out, the Raiders win. When he doesn't, it's almost a guarantee that they lose. And guys, the only game they won and he didn't have 300 yards was this past Monday night, and the Raiders probably honestly should have lost that game. It's because they were playing a third-string quarterback. So if Derek Carr goes for 300 yards, Broncos are going to lose. If not, Broncos are going to win.
There you go. Simple as that. Might as well just press simulate the game and look at his passing yards and move on.
And you got to feel pretty good about the Broncos holding him to 300 yards. Now, I know he destroyed the Broncos earlier this year, but guys, this honestly feels like a completely different defense now than when the Broncos played the Raiders the first time.
That was the turning point moment, and obviously the next game a few days later, they lost to Cleveland, gave up 17 in a low possession game, and struggled to stop the run. But I mean, at least if you kind of go by an opposing offense output basis, I mean, that was the last time the Broncos defense really got torched. Since then, the most the Broncos defense has accounted for allowing is Philadelphia's offense putting up 23 points in that Week 10 game. So that really kind of was the fork in the road moment. Justin Simmons, remember after that game, talked about communication issues on the back end leading to some open receivers downfield. We haven't seen those types of issues since then.
Yeah, and honestly, the Broncos defense should be absolutely pissed off coming into this game. That was Derek Carr's best game statistically that he's had this season. 341 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and 134 passer rating. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, and we've seen Derek Carr look good against the Broncos before, but there's a big difference between that game and those games. And the Broncos have beat Derek Carr when he's had some impressive numbers, like I don't remember exactly what it was. I think he was 21 of 25 one game for a little over 200 yards or maybe a little under 200 yards. And he took care of the ball all game. The Broncos won because they bend but didn't break. And that's the biggest difference between what happened in that game at home was you broke. Now, he had Henry Ruggs. He doesn't have him now. He'll never have him again. And that makes a big difference for that offense. But that's the thing that you just can't have. I believe Deshaun Jackson is going to play for them. So, they do still have some deep threats. He has looked deep for Zay Jones sometimes too. I think actually Zay Jones had a big catch in that earlier game against the Broncos. So it's not as if he has nothing there, but that is how you do it. You have to take away that deep shot. You can give him the underneath stuff. It's frustrating to watch sometimes, but if you can take away the big plays, anything really over 20 yards, if you can take that stuff away, you will win this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a really good point. All right, now let's hop to the other quarterback with the Whiteboard Wednesday, and the next one is scheme for Lock's strength.
Yeah, they have to do this, and we talked about earlier. You're going to run the ball often, but this can actually, if the Broncos don't get too cute, and also if they're playing from ahead or they're playing within one score, one way or the other, then it plays into continuing to run the ball, and it plays into the play action boots look that we see has worked for Drew Lock, and it gives him a chance to stretch it down the field, take advantage of the safeties coming up, and get some chances for shots. I mean, really, it's kind of it's maybe a Tim Tebow game plan on steroids. And what I mean by that is when Tim Tebow was working for the Broncos back in 2011, they wouldn't pass the ball very often, but when they did, it was to look downfield and take advantage of those deep shots. So maybe not to that extreme, but I think if you're looking to pass the ball off the run, you need to work it under center. You need to use the play action game, get him rolling out, get him where he's comfortable. He's much more settled working under center. It gives him I think he's going to have much better footwork when he throws the ball, because one thing that kind of did jump out to me watching the last game is, there's still kind of the off balance throws, the back foot throws. You want him to get set, be accurate downfield, and this allows him to play within himself. I don't want to see Pat Shurmur getting cute in this game and putting Drew into situations where he's having to read the entire field. Just let him do what he does best. Don't focus on the next stage. This is all about letting him do what he does best, and at the same time playing within what the team can do right now. It gives the Broncos the best chance, and it gives Drew Lock the best chance too.
If the Broncos come out in 3 wide out of the shotgun, I honestly might just pound my head into a wall until I pass out and not watch the game.
Well, Ryan, I don't think you're going to be watching the game, because get ready for them to come out in 3 wide.
Come out, 2 tight ends. You could even go – I'd love to see them go out a pistol with 2 tight ends. That was something that worked well for Drew Lock early in his career. If you're actually scheming to Drew Lock's strengths, which every offensive coordinator should do for their quarterback regardless of who they are, you're not going into positions that are going to cause him, are going to increase the chances of pressure. You're just not going to do that. You're going to run the ball from under center. You're going to run play action from under center. You might go into some shotgun and stuff on 3rd downs, but if they come out on 1st down on the first play of the game in shotgun 3 wide, I don't think I can watch. I'm just going to go do something else for the day, and I'll come back for the post-game show.
Yeah, it honestly sounds like I'm going to be taking the post-game show by myself with Ryan passed out next to me.
I can't take it. That's so mind-bogglingly stupid to go out there and run that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of get it if you're trying to expand Drew Lock's skill set and say, okay, well, he's got to learn how to process the entire field, not just half the field. That doesn't matter right now. When you've got a 5% chance of the playoffs, and it can become 10 or 11% with a win, and it can even go much higher than that if you do it against the Chargers. This isn't about a player's development and trying to add to what tools are in his toolbox. This is just do what he does best. And the best part is it plays well off what the Broncos do best because it plays off of running the ball, which is what they need to do in this game. So if they get cute, if they're doing too much 3 wide, too much shotgun, it's going to be rough. Unfortunately, this is where losing Andrew Beck hurts. He's got the elbow injury. And so if you want to go I formation under center, you're going to have to find somebody who can be a fullback
Salbert?
in a pinch. Salbert's probably the best option that you have there. Easily.
Yeah. I'd like to see Salbert out there in several situations because, again, it just means they're, thinking about their game plan, not just, going out there and calling the coach suggestions on Madden.
And Ryan, if they come out in 3 wide, that's going to put you in a Grinch mood, which takes us to our next whiteboard topic, which is Grinch mode.
Yeah, you got to go out there and be the Grinch. I'm sure a lot of families out there in Las Vegas going to make the trip out to the game. You have to be coming into this game angry. You blew a massive opportunity at home last week. Your playoff chances are on the ropes. You got your asses kicked by your rivals the last time you set foot on the field with these guys. Go in there like the Grinch. Don't come off of some, happy little Christmas team gathering. Everyone's all joyful. No, go out there mad, kick some ass. You have to take this game personally because they beat the hell out of you on your home field. The least you can do is give it back to them. I need to see some passion, some anger from this Broncos team, and I feel like it's one of my biggest gripes about the Vic Fangio era as a whole. Is we talk about even keel, this, that, and the other thing. You gotta keep it level. That's not always how it works in football. Now you can go too far one way and too far the other way, but sometimes in a game like this, you have to come out with a little extra juice. And in my opinion, you have a chance to go punch this team in the mouth. Obviously they're coming off of a whatever win is what I'll call it. But they're going to be at home for the holidays. They might come out a little lackadaisical. And if you go in there with your hair on fire, I really think that you can win this game. So you gotta go be the Grinch. Go ruin Christmas in Vegas. You
know what, though? There's one thing I'm thinking about here. And you talk about kind of, not being even keel and kind of being a little bit angry. One concern I have is you had last week Justin Simmons talking about do or die playoff game. And so they were on an emotional high point compared to a lot of other games. Do you feel like they might come back down, that they might not have anything left in the tank in that regard?
Yeah, potentially, and that's something that I said yesterday. 2 weeks ago, or against Kansas City, Justin Simmons was talking about how this was such a big game and how he was so hyped and just wait till Sunday. He couldn't wait for it. They come out, and the defense didn't come out flat, but the team as a whole did not get the job done. Then last week, Justin builds it up again. Justin, you probably want a different message, whether it's from Justin or from someone else, because that's just not working anymore, and that's probably just going to fall on deaf ears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like the players-only meeting card. Like you can only play these cards a few times.
Yeah.
Right.
You can only play the playoff game must win a couple times. Now the Broncos, they called it a playoff game 2 weeks ago. Well, they lost. Now they're out of the playoffs twice. So it's you got to play a new card. To me, it's first of all, the biggest thing that they should be playing for this weekend is to not get last place. Now I don't know if that's like a rallying cry that works in the locker room, but
it's not.
If you lose this game, you're going to get last place again in the division. So and that should be something that they take personally. Last place is embarrassing. You started 3-0. You were playing for first place a couple weeks ago. You can't go get last place in the division. That should mean something to them. I don't know if it will, but it's a tough place to go from. We're playing for the playoffs we're playing to not get last place.
It really is embarrassing, and that brings us to our next whiteboard, and that is Ross Crosby. Guys, the Broncos got embarrassed by Max Crosby in their first meeting. Max Crosby had 3 sacks against him, 5 quarterback hits. He terrorized the Broncos offensive line and Teddy Bridgewater. Max Crosby, has 5 sacks this season, and they've come in 2 games. 3 sacks against the Broncos, 2 sacks against Baltimore back in week 1. He has 3 games in which he has 5 quarterback hits. The Raiders won all 3 of those games. The Raiders have won all of their game or both games when he's had a sack. Don't let him take over a game because the Raiders will win. Just make him normal, and the Broncos will absolutely have a chance, but you cannot let Max Crosby just eat you alive like he did last time.
It's Khalil Mack 2.0 almost. I mean,
Yeah.
why does this happen to the Broncos against the Raiders every so often that an edge rusher just eats their lunch over and over? That's a good point. That's where it has to start there. They've got to keep Crosby out of the backfield.
Yeah, I'm sometimes guilty of having tunnel vision on the Broncos and taking my takes from Broncos games and extrapolating them out to the whole season. So like in my eyes, like Max Crosby is a dominant pass rusher. And then I watch other games that he plays in and I'm like, wait, he's just regular? Like what's going on here? Why can't he get any pressure? I honestly didn't know until you just said that, Zach, that he's had all of his sacks in 2 games, including 60% of them against the Broncos.
He literally has no sacks since that game.
None since that game.
Yep.
None.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't let him kill you.
Defensive player of the year.
Yeah. Nope, he's just defensive player of the week when he plays against the Broncos. And let's hit our next whiteboard, and it is holiday desperation.
Yeah, you got to be, sometimes in the holidays, people get a little desperate, right? Because everyone's with their families, but maybe you're alone, so you're firing off texts late at night, trying to see if you have someone to hang out with on the weekend. A Christmas weekend, maybe you get an invite to a Christmas party. You get a little desperate around the holidays when you're alone. The Broncos need to break out that holiday desperation this weekend. I didn't even feel like in this last game the Broncos were desperate to win. And again, I think it goes back to a personality thing with the team. Vic, obviously, not that type of personality. And Teddy, honestly, isn't that type of personality either.
No.
We always say a team takes on the personality of their coach or their quarterback, or sometimes their best player. Well, the Broncos, they need to take on, maybe it's Drew Lock who can be a little desperate this week. Now, I don't know if we want him to play desperate. That hasn't necessarily worked for him in the past. But everyone should be desperate in this game. I mean, the sense of urgency needs to be at an all-time high, not just internally, but like as the game is going on. I want to see guys reaching for every first down. I want to see guys, gang tackling on every opportunity. Last week, I didn't feel like I was watching a team that was fighting for their playoff lives, and now they really are. I mean, it is very, very slim chances that they make it. But you got to go out there and just be desperate on every single play, and you can want this game more than them. I know it. I know that they don't care. They don't care enough to where you can't care more than them. You have to go care more than them in this game. It's something that I've just been begging for from the Broncos, and this is a huge opportunity for them to do that.
I'll take caring as much because they're in the same spot as the Broncos are, right? I mean, they're 7-7. They're their playoff hopes. I mean, I think they have a slightly higher percentage than the Broncos. I don't have it in front of me right now, but if you care, at least if you care as much as they do, then you'll have the game on even terms. Because they're going to care about this game.
Yeah,
deeply.
they're gonna care, but they just I don't know if they actually believe.
Guys, they're gonna care, but are they gonna car?
Hopefully not.
And guys, our last whiteboard Wednesday here, Sweet 16. That is going to be a big number for the Broncos. Keep it 16 points for the Raiders. The Broncos in every single one of the Raiders' losses. I mean, this just blows my mind. Every single one of the Raiders' losses, they have 16 or fewer points. So their offense is literally almost either dropping over 30 points per game and they're guaranteed to win, or they're scoring 16 or less points and they're pretty much guaranteed a loss. Now, their only win when they scored 16 or fewer points came on Monday. I mean, Monday was just such a weird game. Again, they shouldn't have won that game. If Baker Mayfield, if Case Keenum is playing in that game, the Raiders lose. I mean, that's how bad they were. But if the Broncos hold them to 16 points or less, they will win. And guys, with the Raiders offense, the way it's tanking right now, and the way the Broncos defense is playing fantastic, they're going in totally opposite directions. This sets up for the Broncos being able to hold the Raiders to under 16 points, and that's pretty much a guaranteed dub.
And what's interesting is the Raiders have nothing in between. They're either scoring 16 or fewer, or they're scoring 26 or more. They don't have 20 or 21 points like the Broncos do. I mean, really,
no.
It kind of sets up for the Broncos, because they kind of go 1 week on, 1 week off, to have about 20, 21, 23 points. And they hold the Raiders to 16 or fewer like most teams have. I mean, it just to me, that's where the stars are aligning.
Yeah, and Mace, what's crazy about that is that one middle game where they scored 26 points, that's their only middle game. Every other game in which they've won has been 30 or more points. It really is crazy in a league where, 24 points is the average. The Raiders are either great or they're terrible. And guys, something that is always great is our friends over at Strava Craft Coffee. Their delicious CBD coffee is always a winner. I had a cup to get me going this morning. Probably going to have another one this afternoon. And the great thing about it is it's packed with CBD. And of course, CBD can help relieve aches, pains, headaches, migraines, anything that's going on that CBD can help relieve. And that's a 2-in-1 punch. Another 2-in-1 punch is if you go to StravaCraftCoffee.com and use the code DNVR25, you'll get 25% off your first order of Strava Craft Coffee. And then on top of that, after you use that code, subscribe to Strava and you'll receive 20% off every single order after that. And you can even have it set up where you don't have to go in and enter your credit card and order. You can have it delivered straight to your door every 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks, or however often you want. It'll come straight to your door at that 20% off. So make sure to check them out over at StravaCraftCoffee.com and use that code DNVR25 to get 25% off your first order.
Also, check out our friends over at Mint Mobile, who have an incredible deal going on this holiday season. And it's already an incredible deal in itself. What the folks over at Mint Mobile realized is all these mobile carriers are spending just so much money on having an in-person store. And honestly, I don't know about you guys. I hate those in-person stores. I never want to have to go
They're the
there.
worst. Absolute worst.
So what they did is they moved everything online, saved themselves a bunch of money, so then they could then save you a bunch of money. Their plans start as low as $15 a month. And right now, you can get 3 months. If you buy 3 months, you're going to get 3 months free for the holiday season. The way it works is they send you a SIM card. All you do is swap out the current SIM card you have on your phone, put in their SIM card, boom, you're running on Mint Mobile. It's great. The coverage is fantastic, and the prices cannot be beat. So stop wasting your money just so you can be able to go in and wait in line for an hour whenever you have a problem with your phone. They've got online people that can help you with any problems that you're having, and it's a great product. Once you try it, you'll realize that you're wasting a ton of money on your former provider. So use the code DNVR when you sign up at Mint Mobile and get that great deal they have for the holidays. Buy 3 months, get 3 months free.
Yep, you don't want to waste your money there. You also don't want to waste money for a gift for yourself or somebody else. Yeah, it's probably too late to get things shipped for Christmas, but maybe you want to get a Christmas gift, a post-Christmas gift for yourself. And what better way to do that than by saving some money over with our friends at Manscaped. If you use the code DNVR, you're going to get 20% off and free shipping over at manscaped.com for anything you order. 2022 is on its way, and I'm going to use a word that Zach uses. I'm going to use the word pubes. 2022 is on its way, and the last thing you want is be the guy with pubes getting in the way of making this year your best yet. 2021, it wasn't great. This is why Manscaped is making a splash and helping you up your grooming game for 2022. New year, fresh opportunity, fresh hope. Their signature lawnmower 4.0 is here to take down every pube in its path. Manscaped has engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It's even waterproof. The tool is amazing, and hey, you're confident if you use the 4.0 to leave 2021 and your gross pubes behind with it. You know what else gives you confidence? It's smelling like $1 million, and there's ways to do that. You've got the Manscaped body wash, Manscaped shampoo, Manscaped refined cologne. It's got the signature scent that's in all Manscaped formulas. It'll be a great complement to your collection. You can use the crop reviver to kind of help to and the crop duster to help kind of make things feel good down below. You can use the cologne to make yourself smell nice in your face, and it's got that masculine scent, that beautiful scent that all Manscaped products have. So you want to check all this out at manscaped.com. Start your new year with a new you, a refreshed and revived you, and take advantage of all the stuff available at manscaped.com. All the products for making you look and feel your very best. Use the code DNVR for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. That's DNVR. That's the code for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com.
And Bawana Beast here in the comments says the lawnmower 4.0 makes the tree look taller. So,
oh my god! Wait, can you guys explain that? I'm not quite sure what they're referring to.
You're on your own there. All right,
I'll ask my mom what that means later.
There you go. Let's get into the comments here. The first one comes in from Patty. Certainly, the lock fumble, and since he was cause for concern for being, he is known for turnovers and sacks in critical situations. Why are we not playing to Lock's strengths? The play call would have made more sense if it was a run-pass option to his dominant arm side, but giving him the run option, only giving him 2 chances, seemed to bring to a weakness. I believe Lock has the potential to push this offense further and create options such as audibles down the field throws. The last 3 games were against divisional rivals, so do we actually know if it's an OC problem or a QB problem? Time to open the playbook. I gotta say, I've seen this, for lack of a better term, excuse come out for Drew Lock about they should have never called read option there. Some people are calling it RPO. It was not RPO. It's just straight read option. And I don't get that one. That's a very simple day one of training camp style read. You read the defensive end. If he crashes, you keep it. If he stays, you give it. He stayed. So Drew should have given it. It's a very simple, obvious thing. It's not something that you need a ton of reps on. And, as Ryan Green brought up on Twitter, he scored a touchdown on that exact same play against the Kansas City Chiefs in one of his first starts. So it's not as if he doesn't know how to execute the read option. I think it kind of was to his strengths in a way. He's not exactly a burner, but you expect him to be able to make that read.
Yeah, I agree with that. And something that I don't understand is if Drew can handle a read option, which I believe he can. I just believe he made the wrong choice there. But Patty wants to put even more on his plate. We're adding a third option to that play, and then also adding an audible and making checks down at the line. He needs to start. I think you can't just throw him out there in this game against the Raiders. You kind of need to start with a smaller playbook and build your way up from there in order to put him in the best situation, so that the team can be put in the best situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make the Paxton Lynch comparison, but by far the steadiest game Paxton Lynch had was the last game of 2017 when Bill Musgrave just kind of simplified things, gave him stuff that he could handle, and he wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible, right? And
yep.
I mean, Drew Lock is a better quarterback than Paxton Lynch, but I think you need to just give him what he can work with. And he ought to be able to do that read option. That's something, and they weren't calling it with Teddy Bridgewater. That was all year. That was something that was put in for Drew Lock. Drew mentioned how he dots the play sheet and says, hey, these are the things I'm most comfortable with if I have to go in there. And so I do think Pat Shurmur made a call that played to Drew Lock's strengths. That was what he wanted to see. So
yeah,
I don't know a lot of people put it on Shurmur for the call. I don't think it was a bad call.
And no. Truly, again, I don't want to be too hard on Drew for that play. We've already, hammered it several times. But I think it was a little bit of his hero ball syndrome that got to him there. Is, instead of just looking at the defensive end, which he was looking at the defensive end and saying, okay, he's there, I'm giving it off. He thought, I think I can make this guy miss in space. And he almost did. He just forgot to bring the ball with him.
Oh boy. Chicago Bronco 86 says, I thought Mace would appreciate this after your discussion about stat guys on Monday. If you haven't seen it before, Freakonomics has a really interesting discussion of how statistically the most successful penalty kick in soccer is actually right up the middle, but it's rarely attempted partially because you look like a fool if it fails. I've definitely noticed that there's a lot of stick to what's always been done, even if there's a better way mentality in the NFL. It does make sense as a way to protect your job, but I've argued to be truly great, you need to take any advantage you can to get and try things that have not been done yet. Thoughts?
Yeah, those are some great points. I mean, I think the other thing you can look at, for example, is in basketball. In his day, Rick Barry was one of the best free throw shooters in the NBA, and he was shooting underhand, right?
Yep.
But underhand can be incredibly effective if you're proficient at it, but no one's going to do that because of how it looks. It's kind of like the taking the penalty and kicking it right at the center of the goal and gambling on the goalie going in one direction or the other, right? I mean, it's sometimes we kind of get caught up in appearance rather than result.
Yeah, totally, and it goes back to the John Harbaugh call this weekend, right?
Yeah.
I am fully 100% behind that. I think it was the correct call. And if I'm a coach, I've said this before. I'm telling my team on the very first day of training camp, we always go for it in that situation. Because if you told me before the game, look, you have two options. One of your options is you can get 2 yards to win the game. And the other option is you can leave it up to a coin toss to see if you're even going to touch the ball to win the game. I'm taking the 2 yards every single time. Don't put it in the hands of a coin flip. Go win the game. And like I said, I'm telling my team from day one in training camp, don't you ever even look to the sideline after we score a touchdown within under 20 seconds left in the game. Line up and run the plays that we've discussed that we're going to run in that situation. But coaches are afraid of doing that in that scenario because if it doesn't work, it's on you. It's not on the defense for not getting the stop after they gave the kick. Which is what's going to happen if it goes to overtime and they go down and score. No one's going to say, they should have gone for 2 at the end of regulation. They're going to say, the defense should have gotten a stop there. But if you go for 2 and you don't get it, everyone points the finger at you, not anyone who missed their assignment on that play. You made that call. And people are afraid of that because you're taking a lot of the onus on yourself.
Brandon Staley took a ton of heat after Thursday's game where if he takes a couple field goals, they probably win. But you know what? The next time that he goes for it on 4th down with like 3 or 4 attempts within the 1 or 2 yards of the first down and within the end zone, they're probably going to hit on at least one of those, if not both of those, and then destroy the Chiefs. So, yeah, I totally agree with your comment, Chicago Bronco. And that's just something that Bill Belichick, maybe it's because he has so much job security that he doesn't have to worry about looking like a fool and messing up, but he takes those chances all the time, and I think it's something that is really commendable for him.
And I also think there's an identity that you instill in your team when you say we go for it in this situation. It's not always going to work. And you're going to have games where you look like a fool because it didn't work several times. But you know what? Your team goes to sleep that night saying, my coach believed in me and I let him down. I got to do better next time.
And that's what Brandon Staley said the day after, and I absolutely love that. Ohio Bronco Alex says, fellas, do we feel like the spread for the game against the Raiders is fair right now after what we saw from the Raiders against the Browns? Currently, the Raiders are favored by 1. I feel pretty good about our chances this weekend. It's the following week against the Chargers that concerns me. Well, I gotta think the reason the Raiders are favored here is Drew Lock is the Broncos' starting quarterback.
I mean, it's definitely a part of the formula there. I also think it's because the Raiders beat the hell out of the Broncos the last time they played, and now they're at home. And they're both 7-7 teams. Like, it's not like the Broncos are some team that is so much better than the Raiders, and they're getting disrespected because Drew Lock's the starter. It's the only evidence we have is that the Raiders are better than the Broncos, and their record is the same.
And you look at the Broncos at the Raiders going back to Oakland. 2016 loss, 2017 loss, 2018 loss, 2019 loss, 2020 loss. So that's factoring in as well. I mean, the Broncos are a better team, but the Raiders are that slight favorite being at home because of their form at home against the Broncos. That's something that I think the odds makers are taking into account.
Next one's from Vash the Man. My boys, as I said, brokenhearted and watching my team slowly stalling, ever moving away from another playoff run. So sad, but at last, their hope that Drew Lock does play good, not only so we can enjoy these last few games, but so he raises his stock. Our team is like the $1 million man. We have everything except we need to compete, except we're only missing the man. The one and only thing we need is a quarterback. If what our team has done with a mediocre quarterback at play, I can't imagine why Russell or Aaron wouldn't be enticed to come play for us. So here's for hope. Let's win just to win and get our quarterback for next year. Peace, love, and chicken grease. I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no doubt if the Broncos had a top 10 quarterback, I think everyone believes that this team would be in the playoffs, would have probably double-digit wins right about now. And guys, this kind of leads into the next question from Cosmo Kelly. Says, God, Russ is so bad. No shot you guys truly believe he's elite, especially if we have to pay him $30 million and trade any draft capital for him. As my boy Zach would say, open your eyes. He's the definition of mediocre, and his mobility is deteriorating rapidly too. This is a joke. And Mace, don't feel bad for the dismalness of my take. Like RK said, I know it's a hot take, and I know I'm alone on the island, but I truly believe this. It's only a matter of time till you see it too. Cosmo Kelly, I have to say, I kind of see what you're saying. And guys, now I don't think that Russ is bad. I don't think he's mediocre, but over these past few weeks, especially, I mean, just this year watching Russ, there are concerning things. And when I watched yesterday's game, I tried to look at it through the lens of, let's pretend that's Teddy Bridgewater. Let's pretend that's Drew Lock. How would we view Russell Wilson? And I saw 3 very concerning things. First one, and it's the smallest one, but it would have pissed Broncos country off. There was an offsides. The Ram jumped offsides. It was very obvious. Flag was thrown, and Russ immediately throws like a 3-yard slant. What happened? What was the criticism when Teddy did that? Now, Teddy's was a little different. He didn't throw the ball right away, but he still threw the check down. I mean, people were losing it, calling Teddy. How can Teddy do that? So that was one right there. And again, just one play. Don't want to be too nitpicky. The second one, and way more concerning for me, his deep balls were terrible yesterday, and they have been for a while, but yesterday was a great example. He was throwing them way too late. He was significantly underthrowing them, and he was making terrible decisions when he threw it. One led to an easy pick. There were 2 more that probably should have been 50-plus yard touchdowns because the receiver was wide open, and he way underthrew him. And the third one, guys, to me is his mobility. There were multiple times, especially on 3rd down last night, where it's 3rd and 4. I'm thinking, Russ, you have 20 yards ahead of you. No one is around. Take off. Run for this. And he throws a deep bomb that's 5 yards short, broken up. He is just not the same player, especially since coming back from that injury that he was. But guys, I'm not saying that I'm going to let a couple of games sway the overall picture of who Russ has been. That's why I'm still down for trading for whatever for him, because I don't think he's fallen off a cliff that he's never going to get back from. But to Cosmo Kelly's point, Russell Wilson has not been playing the best ball this year.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the injury. I think he's playing hurt. I actually think he's playing with more injury, more than just the finger problem that sidelined him for a few games. And the other thing is, you can go through almost any great quarterback and find a point, typically in between the age of 30 and 34, where it looked like that they were coming back to earth and like, oh, is this the end? I mean, remember back in 2015 when people thought the Broncos had broken Aaron Rodgers?
Yep.
Well,
they did.
Yeah, and then look what happened after that. The arc of most of these top shelf quarterbacks is that there's always a dip. Sometimes they're hurt. Sometimes briefly their things figured out, but then a tweak or two is made. The quarterback gets healthy and he's back to being himself. I think with Russell Wilson, this is a short-term dip, and sometimes if we're in the stock market, they say buy the dips. So I'm willing to buy Russell Wilson on a dip.
Yeah, I completely agree. Zach, also when you talk that fast, I'm afraid your head is going to like explode.
Well, because last night I'm going, man, Broncos country would be tearing him apart if he was a Broncos quarterback, especially with the name of Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock or something. But I agree with you guys. I believe this is a small blimp in the road for him. I still take him.
Broncos country tore apart Peyton Manning early in 2012, right? I mean,
he got booed.
Yeah, this happens.
It does happen, but I'm chalking it all up to the injury. I don't think he's gripping the ball as well as he needs to throw those deep balls the way he wants to.
That's fair.
Yeah.
From Orange is the new Sack. Hello, DNVR. I decided it was the perfect time to finally subscribe after being a long-term listener. We got him.
Got him.
If you guys could go back anytime in the post-Peyton Manning era, who was one player you would undraft, and who would you draft in their place? This is easy. Thanks, guys. I hope you guys all get into the holiday spirit, especially RK and Zach. Merry Christmas.
Okay, do we want to say this all at the same time on the count of 3?
Yeah. Well, so are we just going to say the player we wish they would have drafted first, or who are they going to
say who they shouldn't, who want to undraft?
Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Bradley Chubb.
No, I was the only one that said Paxton Lynch.
Yep.
Yeah, because I've got a good replacement for him.
See,
the best
Paxton Lynch led to so many more bad decisions after that.
Yeah,
but then who are you drafting instead, though, Mace?
Dak Prescott.
Okay. I'd rather have Josh Allen.
Yeah, me too. That's why I went Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
You're not bad. You're not wrong with Dak Prescott, though.
Yeah, and it also would have maximized that 2016 team because that defense was still a great defense in 16. And if Dak had played for the Broncos as he did for the Cowboys as a rookie, Dak might have been in the Super Bowl as a rookie.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. He walked into a situation with a great running game and the best offensive line in football at the time, which he wouldn't have been getting in Denver.
He wouldn't have had the best offensive line. He would have had a running game that was good enough. He would have had terrific wide receivers pushing the ball downfield, and he would have had Gary Kubiak calling the plays for him.
The only thing is he wouldn't have been able to beat out my guy Trevor for the job, so wouldn't have mattered.
I thought you were going to maybe say like they don't draft quarterback that year. They have a bad season. It leaves them in perfect position to go grab Patrick Mahomes the next year or Deshaun Watson pre-issues. That's a fun one, though. I'm glad that we didn't all agree. I thought for sure it would be trade Bradley Chubb for Josh Allen.
I like that, too. And I think we have a super chat or two, guys, to hit on the way out here. I can't find it, though.
Here we go. What's the earliest draft pick we could have, and how do we get there? Well, I'll tell you what. You get there by going 0-3. I think the Broncos have the opportunity to sneak into the top 10 if they went 0-3.
Yeah, realistically, like I think technically they could get as high as number 5 if somehow both the Bears and Giants won out. But realistically, pick number 10 right now is Washington at 6-8. Pick number 9 is Atlanta, also 6-8. And the Broncos, as of right now, have a strength of schedule advantage on Washington, but not Atlanta. So I think that probably pick 9 is, I think, as high as realistically they're going to go.
It's a lot better than, right now they're 14th. If they win a couple, they could be 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. If you lose this week, you really put yourself in we could have done all of this for nothing to be right back where they were last year. Top 10 pick, last place in the division, last place schedule.
It's crazy.
It's not exciting, but it is better than going 1-2. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it certainly is. And then Jelly provides some options for where we could go, where the Broncos could go after this year. Doug Peterson and Kenny Pickett, or Russ and Brian Dable. # DNVR.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm kind of out on Brian Dable.
I agree.
I really liked him, and I think he's jumped the shark, if you will. Going a whole half without running the ball just tells me you might be a little bit irresponsible.
Yeah, I'm out, and just look at the Buffalo Bills this year. They've fallen off, and Josh Allen has fallen off a bit, and so you're not going to take the leader of that.
Can you imagine if next season the Broncos drafted Kenny Pickett or whatever and had Brian Daboll as their coach, and Javonte Williams was getting like 6 carries a game?
That would be wild. Oh
People
my
would lose their
goodness.
minds.
Oh yes.
Any other super chats we got to hit?
Got one. Yeah. From
from
Bawana Beast. Yeah, so we saw a lot of movement on the practice squad. Anything to note besides saying Bassie going to reunite with Ronaldo Hill with the LA Chargers?
No, I mean nothing that's going to impact the team this year.
I mean, you got Anthony Gordon, quarterback from Washington State, who's going to be on the practice squad, and basically he's going to be he's another emergency quarterback. Brett Rippon will be the backup on Sunday behind Drew Lock, and there's your quarterback that you're probably keeping away from the other two, who's there just in case. That's about it.
Love to finish the pod with some hot practice squad talk. And that is how we're going to finish the pod. Before we get out of here, one final shout out to our presenting sponsor, MSU Denver Online. Of course, hit us with a thumbs up if you enjoyed the show. Thanks to almost everyone for being civil in the comments. We appreciate that. It's nice to see the holiday spirit in most of you in the chat. Everyone's Broncos fans here. Some people have different opinions. That's always okay. And also, some people have different opinions on what kind of education they want to get, but they can all get it done at MSU Denver Online. 750 total classes, 45 plus online and hybrid programs. Classes that bring the real world into the classroom. And so if you're looking to maintain a full-time job while you get your education, there's no better place to go than MSU Denver. We will talk to you guys tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast. Have a great day.